should be live. Let's see. Okay, perfect. We are live. How are you, Luc?
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Well, yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
I have my coffee with me and everything else.
I have just water because I'm getting just one coffee per day for a period of time because I had too many coffees. So I'm in detox mode.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm not.
I'm not here to blame you. Don't worry.
No, thank you very much. Okay, I don't feel
We have
guilty. I need the
Scott
coffee.
Spence, man.
I,
Hey.
I really need the coffee. So
Perfect.
So how was your day today?
This day has been
Francesco?
really great, because I was really excited to do this with you. I think we have planned this some days ago. Basically, you asked me to do maybe a video call, and why don't turn this into a live stream so other people could come and maybe make questions. I see also Scott also made me some questions. There is Julia. Hi, Julia. Hey there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is really an experiment because I've never done let's say a public video call lesson, one-on-one lesson. So you are the first one, Luc, and I'm really happy to do this with you because I've done others, but they were just offline with just one person or maybe a little group of people. So this is also my first time, maybe not my first live stream, but my first time doing this because let's say that I've not like a boring explanation prepared. I want to do really something super interactive. I'm here to chill. It's Friday. We have just sent our code in production, so let's chill out. By the way, just one question for people in chat. Can you tell me if the audio is okay? If you can listen a very low level music in background, if you can hear me, Luc, the video, how it looks. Okay, perfect. I don't know if I'm gonna use slides, but I don't think so. So yeah, I think that we can almost start. I just need to remember to switch when we go into code because now we are in this interview mode. But we have already done an interview, Luc. So today we will do something more practical. Is that okay for you?
That's right.
How has been?
That's right.
How has been your day?
Well, it was okay overall. It was a challenging day. I had to do something new in WordPress that I am working now, and this week I've been with some React stuffs that I don't really am very stable on React. I've done some Vue and I understand the concepts there, but in comparison, for me, React is a bit slower for me to learn as I am a newbie. As per se, I'm just 2 years since I started to code, so I need Docker. So that's why I'm asking.
Perfect.
The
earlier the better. The earlier the better. So since we are waiting, I think we can wait a little more minutes. But in the meanwhile, I want to switch already on the fight layout. And just let me show you a couple of things because you have already installed Docker and you have installed this on which machine? Mac?
Mac OS, yes.
Okay, Mac OS.
MacBook.
So just let me say just a couple of things. You can install Docker on a Windows, Mac or Linux machine. Docker runs natively only on Linux. So if you want to use Linux containers, which is basically the 99% of when we say containers, we are talking about Linux containers, not Windows containers. On Mac and Windows, basically we have this. Can you see the screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. It should be, just let me double check. But it should be perfect. Okay, just 1 second. Perfect. So we have this, which is Docker Desktop, which is basically a program that you install to have Docker on Windows and Mac. Okay, so let's do a little bit of theory, Luc, but I would like really to make you more questions than me just talking, okay? So look, can we get started?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
Yeah, so what is Docker? This is a question a lot of people made me. So Docker is not a program, is not this thing that I've just installed, which is Docker Desktop. It's not something to install, but it's a whole ecosystem. So it's really a game-changing ecosystem. It's a container technology, which sounds a little bit scary. A container technology is a set of tools that helps you to build, run, and ship containers. There are so many analogies, like with whales and ships and real containers. The real containers, the one you get into the ships. So why? Because also in the ships you have this idea of this. Let me take a picture. Oh, where is that? Yeah, then there are this. If I do this, I find something like this. So basically, I like this. So it's a standard box, we can say, where we can put whatever we want. We could also, I don't know, like add something like cooling system or other stuff inside a single container. Can you see this? And then with these sides, yes, you can ship them with a real ship. Okay, something like that. I like this kind of images. So the concept is kind of similar. I'll not go super into details like the containers versus virtual machine. Instead, I just want to make a really practical approach because I want to write some code and Docker commands today. So there are some concepts which are really important. Maybe I could write them here down. So basically, you install this Docker Desktop, and there are important things in Docker. There are something which are called Docker objects. Which are Docker objects? There are 4 Docker objects, so 4 important bricks to build containers. There are containers, images, volumes, and networks. And since I have already installed Docker, I can show you how we can list all these 4 Docker objects on our machine. Now, I've cleaned up my machine, I think. So let's see some commands here, okay? And when we will go into each object, I will talk a little bit about that. Okay, do you have any question? Let me check if someone has any question.
Someone in the chat asks that do web developers need to learn Docker? So what do you think about this?
It depends. Of course, your basic. But I think that this could really be a very useful weapon at your side, and it's not that hard to get started. Maybe you just need the good way to start. You need to grasp some basic concept, and then I think that usually I say that there are 2 ways to learn Docker. I call them like the hard way and the soft way. The soft way is that, okay, I have, for example, a node application, and I just want to know how to build an image out of that. I don't want to learn all Docker, and I just want to use that, and that's totally okay. The hard way, what we are doing now, we are trying to learn Docker, so all the concepts from the beginning. So now we are doing this, I can say, in the correct way. But of course, if you are in a hurry, you can just type out how to containerize a Python application, and you can start with just what you really need. Perfect.
Yeah, well, I kind of, well, I am identifying myself within the tech as a front end developer.
Mm-hmm.
So I just bumped in this week into Docker,
Mm-hmm.
needing to run the application so that I could see it. Nevertheless, around like 4 months ago, when I started to get into Vue, I didn't need it. So, but because I've been able to run that to npm and to run to Webpack as through
Yeah.
Webpack, and
Yeah.
but the point is that at a certain point, as a front end developer, when you want to see live what you do, and when you want to see what you will be deploying on a kind of like Bitbucket, for instance, is what I used this week. Well, you need that. I mean, this is my point of view, that maybe not now, maybe like 6 months ago, I didn't need it, since I was just running basic stuffs and on WordPress, and I was just developing on local machine, and just creating some small web application for that person or for that company. But now, yes, I bumped into Docker. So
Yeah.
eventually, you, as a front end developer, in just is my case, you will bump in. You will bump in. I
Yeah.
have a question. You said that there are four points to
For
learn in Docker.
no,
Yes,
there are four. Let's call them Docker objects: containers, images,
objects.
volumes, and
Okay.
networks.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the last one was
Containers, images,
images,
volumes,
volumes,
and networks. Four
networks.
bricks.
Okay.
Four bricks. The
Yes,
container
four
and
bricks. I
images.
would.
The container and images are the basic ones, and volumes and networks are, let's say, the intermediate ones. Okay.
Okay. Could we just run briefly with what is everyone, like what is a container,
For
what is an
sure.
image? I know that they're
For
not the
sure.
same. People are mistaken, as I've seen on some articles, that they are like
Yeah.
pulling an alarm. Do not confuse containers with images. Be careful. And
Yeah.
so, could you
Every,
please
every,
explain briefly?
yeah. Every time you confuse an image and a container, a kitten dies, basically. Yeah. Let's say that the main difference is that, okay, let's me start. I'm not prepared anything, but let's start. An image is something, let's call that static. So it's basically your application with all the configuration, all the dependencies bundled in one file. Okay. It's like, if you know the object-oriented programming, do you know that? A little bit?
Yeah, I have a grasp of it.
Okay, so you can take like the image like a class. This is an analogy for developers. A containers is an instance of an image. So it's like if you have a class and then you create containers based on that class. And you can create how many containers you want. So containers are the running processes. And the image is something which is on your local system and is saved. Is what also you push and pull from hub. We'll see this later. So images
Right.
are immutable, and containers are processes run on the base on that image. Images are layered files. So you have a lot of layers, like a stack of pancakes. You can think about that. And a container is the last layer on the top of this layered file. Okay? It's like the cherry on top. Okay? Okay. So
Yes.
now we have this. Okay, let me start really briefly what volumes and networks are. Okay. Volumes are what you need for persistence. And we will see this if we have time, because usually we have persistency. We have some files, we save them on our file system, and that's okay. If for containers it's not that obvious, we need something to store our data. Why? Because when we stop and remove our container, everything inside the container is lost forever. So you need, in some ways, save data in some different ways. But this is a good system. It's not a bad one, because it allows you, for example, to restart the process, restart 4 processes, 5 processes, but you have always the same data in the same place. Okay, so these are volumes in a nutshell. And the networks are what you need to let containers communicate each other. We will see this with an example later. So containers to communicate, they need to be in the same network. Okay, we will see this later. Okay, so I would like to start typing some commands, and I want to do a really very important demo. This demo, which is maybe one of the most basic ones, but if I explain you will understand a lot of stuff. Okay, so let me check if you have any questions. Otherwise, we can start. Let's see. An image is like an installation file. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, the container is the app. Is the app which is running. Yeah, Salvas. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Let's start. Can you read? I think yes. So we have Docker installed on our machine. One command that we could run is docker info. So if we get an output by this, it already means that Docker is running on our machine. You can check also on Windows, for example, if you go on the bottom right, and there is this good icon here, which is doing something. So this means that we have our Docker desktop is up and running. You can see here some information, for example, the containers that are running, the images, and we see a lot of zeros because I've cleaned up my machine. I've been a good guy. And a lot of stuff which we don't really need for now. There are some information about, for example, here I see Docker Desktop, because on this system I have installed Docker Desktop. By the way, I'm using WSL2, which is Windows subsystem for Linux, which could sound like a sorcery or black magic, but it's something which is really cool. It allows me to type Linux commands inside the Windows. So I'm basically running Docker Desktop inside a Linux system inside Windows. That's great. Okay, other funny commands. I can also share this super advanced notepad file at the end of this introduction. Docker system. It allows me to do something with all the Docker Docker system. Let's say Docker system df, something usual. It's like Linux. It says like images and containers that I have, the size that is on my machine, and don't mind this because I've not cleaned my cache. So this is like my bin, because Docker uses a lot the cache. So it allows you to build the images really faster. And I know that I've not explained the one container and images are exactly, but we will go through this very soon. Now, to list all these objects, if you have some questions, Luc, just stop me. So we can type Docker container ls. So this is to show all the containers, and of course here is empty. Since I'm lazy, I'll do something like that. Forgive me. But if I want to show the images, I can do docker image ls. For volumes, unexpected docker volume ls. And for the networks, this is a clean installation. You can also do this if you want. And here I see something strange, because by default you should have already these three networks, which is like bridge, host, and known. I'll explain.
Yes, I have them already.
Okay, so you have this by default. So if you don't specify a network, a container is attached to this default bridge network, which is a default bridge, not a custom one. Okay, now let's see something very interesting, because I am on this machine, I have no containers, I have not images. Now let's type what I had on my Twitter, I can't remember how to name that, okay, the header, Twitter header, docker run hello world. This works. Let's see what happened. It says unable to find image locally. It's doing some stuff, and hello from Docker. So if we understand what's going on here, we understand a lot about Docker. Now we see it's basically a hello world. So you see like basically an echo of a script which was inside the image created. Now let's see the container, because now maybe we want to see the container. And we see that there is no container. So this is this strange, Luc, or not? Let's see. Because the container is like a process. When the container is done, it exits automatically. So in this container, which is basically an hello world, it just prints something on the console, and then it exits. The container doesn't exist if it doesn't have a reason. Okay, of course, if I want to create a web server and consume some REST API, I need that process to keep it up and running. Okay, but if it's just an echo, a print, the container is already stopped. Now, to see all the containers, not just the running ones, I can do docker. By the way, sorry for that, because before I did this, docker container ls. And now I've used this shortcut. So docker ps is basically the same as docker container ls. This format is a little bit better, because I'm saying list the containers. This is an older and old format, okay? So I've done this, but because this is just faster. So if I add -a, which stands for all, I can see here some stuff. Let's show you. Okay, so it says this is the container. This is the image that has been used for the container when it has been created, the current status, which is exited because it's done. It has done the print and it's done. And also we see a fancy name, because you can specify a name for a container, but if you don't specify any name, it gives like a random name. Sometimes I also see like Linus Torvalds on other people, okay? But you can specify your custom name, okay? Now, an interesting thing is this one, docker image ls. Can you see that here? Now I have an image on my file system, but I've done docker run. Can you remember this? So what the hell happened when I did this run hello world? Can you see this? It says like unable to find image locally. So if you run a container based on an image, this is an image, and Docker doesn't find that on the local machine, it does something, a little bit of magic. What it will do? It will go on something which is called Docker Hub. And Docker Hub, if you know GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab, is basically what GitHub is for repositories. So here, this is very important site. Here you can see why Docker is so famous and so used, because here there are all the repositories, but it's not just me, Francesco or Luc creating some fancy application. There are the official companies which has created some images for their product. So this is the Postgres team creating the Postgres image. Okay, there are almost 8 million images in this public registry. This is a registry. Okay, this is traffic. You have used that maybe, Mongo and MariaDB, Node. So I don't have to write the image for an existing technology. I'll use an existing image, and of course, if I need to create an application, I'll start from this and I'll create some custom stuff, for example. Okay. Now, let me. Do you have any questions, Luc?
Not for the moment, because I kind of understand what you are saying, and I am just so absorbed by it. Let me check the chat.
Okay.
If there is any questions, the containers at the high. No, there aren't. So let's continue.
Okay, perfect. Okay. You can make any questions because I get like 100 questions per day on Twitter, like how can I do this, how can I do that with Docker. So this is the right place to ask me questions, because now I'm chilling with Luc, so this is the right place to ask me questions when I'll try to answer everyone. Okay, what I was saying, okay, let's see if I type hello world. So this is like GitHub. So what happened here? No, it's not working. Hello world. Okay, no. Okay, this one. So when we have done this Docker run hello world, it has downloaded this hello world, which has been downloaded 1 billion times, and it shows this output. Okay. Is this clear? This idea of Docker automatically checking on Docker Hub? Or not?
Right. It's yes, I understand perfectly.
Okay.
It's like, yes, it's like when you call someone, and if it doesn't want to answer, the automatic machine enters and it says like, hello, you have reached that number, please leave a message. And you get the message into your phone. Some kind of like that is the hub. Is the Docker Hub, kind of like this. I mean, if you don't have it on your local machine, you run the command, and you ask the hub to send it to your machine because it's already created.
Exactly. Can you see that
on the hub.
Can you see that here there is written this command, because this should be the slow but maybe better way to do this. So let me try to do this again. So let me show this. If I do now docker run hello world, can you remember that here when I did docker run hello world, it says unable to find image locally. Let's see what happens now.
Right.
It doesn't allow this again. It just says hello from Docker because it already has this on my local machine. Okay.
Right.
So if it has already, it uses that. Otherwise, it goes checks on Docker Hub. Of course, if I try to run an image that doesn't exist, it tries to download this that says this doesn't exist. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So this was really a basic example. Let's see if I've done. Okay. Okay, to delete the containers. So I can't do now the example how to stop a container because the container it was already stopped. But let's see how we can delete containers. And you can see something interesting here. Can you see that here we have two containers? Both of them are stopped. This was the first one. And this is another one with a different name, a different ID. So I'm creating already two containers on the same image. Okay. Every time I do docker run, it creates usually a new container. So to delete containers, I can do docker rm, which is for remove. And I can also do docker container rm, which is the long and verbose version, but docker rm just works. And here I could do a couple of things. I could either specify a name or an array of names, or either the container ID. But I don't need to type all of these. I can just type, for example, 6f. Okay? And if I do this, this container is being deleted. So, okay. Let's try to delete this one. And this I deleted this by the name. Okay? And now we are clean again. Okay, so this was the very first demo. Let's also delete the image. This is very important in the Notepad. And by the way, I can, instead of doing docker image ls, I can do docker images. It's shorter, but it's the same command. So to remove this, I can do docker. I have two options: or docker image rm with the image ID d1. It should work. Can you see this one? Or
Yes.
okay. Or just docker image docker rmi. So also this works, but I don't have any image now. Something a little bit strange is that there are 3 lines. Why? Because the images are layers, so it's removing like layers. You can think about layers like commits, okay? There is also a command which is called docker commits. I think that Docker under the hood, it uses Git in some ways. I've never discovered this, but I think it uses, or it uses something very, very similar. So it has a similar idea. Okay, now let's do something a little bit more advanced. Now, let's say that we want to use Postgres on our project. Okay, so what I usually do, what I should usually do, I go here, I type Postgres. No, Postgres. What's this? No, Postgres. So I should go on here on the. I don't know if we've done something like this, probably not with MariaDB. Then I should download this and use MyDB on my machine. Okay, don't do this, because if you do this, what's the problem? The problem is that when you will need the DB on the production machine, you will need to install the exact same version. If you change version, if you update yours, it could really be a mess. Instead, with containers, we use always the same environment in development and in production on a very, very similar one. So this is the power of containerization. Docker is a container technology, the most famous one. Okay, so let's try to run a Postgres container based on the official Postgres image. Okay, are you following me, Luc?
Yes.
Okay.
I am here.
Okay, so so what should I usually do if I don't know what to do with this image? I can type here Postgres, because I don't need to start from scratch. I start from this image, and they say, okay, you can use this version, this version, this version. What is PostgreSQL? How can I run this? So I can follow this instruction. Now, I have already prepared something, which I hope that it will work. But I don't want to go into super details into that, of course. Okay, so just to have an idea, for MariaDB it will be something like very similar. Okay, so I have prepared this. So let's type that. Let's type that together. Let's see. So I can do docker run, and let's see a couple of more options. Docker run --name to specify a name. I can call this like Postgres example. Names would work. Then I can specify a network, but I should create that before. So let's create that. I forgot this command. So docker create docker network create network one. Okay, why am I creating a network? I don't have to do that, but I want to show you something later. So if I do docker network ls here, can you see that now we have also this network of the type bridge? Okay, so let me also do docker network create network one. Okay, now go back to Postgres. Docker run --name so it was Postgres example. Then we can specify a network one. And now, usually when you run Postgres, you use some environment variables, right? So, for example, I can specify the password for the Postgres instance that I'm creating. So let's call this like my secret password. And then let's see other stuff. Then I need a user. So I'm specifying environment variables. Do you use environment variables? Yes. Do you want to tell me briefly what an environment variable is? It's something to configure your application, okay? So I'm basically passing these keys, these environment variables, when I create the container, okay? So I'm creating a password, a user, Francesco, because it's my demo. You can do Postgres user Luc, of course. Then -e. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
My ego is big. Postgres DB equal, okay, I call this DB. This is a default DB. And then, and now I can also specify a custom volume for this. Let me type this, then we will go through all this, because this is an example to guide you to some more advanced demos if we have time, of course. Let's see, var lib. So I'm specifying a volume, so something to persist data when I run this Postgres container. PostgreSQL data, and we should almost be ready. There is also this -p, which stands for publish. For example, if you use like an application, a view application, you need to expose a port, right?
Right.
Okay, so it's for this one. This is the external port, this is an internal port. So it's like the containers are inside one network, but this is from the outside all the network. The network is like a Twitter group, okay? If you are in a Twitter group, you are in the same group of people. The people are the containers. Okay. Then, okay. And then this, I'm specifying this image, this one. So specifying this image, which is Postgres version 12. Just one last option. This -d stands for detached and is basically to leave my terminal clear, because otherwise my terminal now it will be stopped by the Postgres application. It could be good, it could be not, but for example, if I do Ctrl+C, it will stop the container. So I'll use this, okay? And now let's see if I've typed everything correctly. Let's see. It says, unable to find the image Postgres 12 locally. It does some stuff. It should be, let's see if it's available. It's up and running. Yes. Can you see here the difference? When we did the docker run hello world, it did just a script and it exited. Instead, this time we have a Postgres container up and running. It's not stopped because the database needs to wait for connections, okay? Now, to see the logs of the container, I can do just docker container logs and the ID of the container. So it should be like D0, okay? Just the first letters of the ID.
Right.
Yeah, and here you can see that there are the logs. It's basically what you have when you run a Postgres DB. So it says like database system is ready to accept connection. So these have been all the logs of this DB. Now we will see this maybe better after, but it was just to explain this command. Okay, now also tell me, look, if this is strange to you or not. If I do docker image ls, do you see that here now I have the Postgres image? here,
Right.
because it's the same
Yep.
process as before. Now, let's clear here. Of course, I'm here super relaxed, so if you want to make some questions, I'm here. So now, one of the most maybe important questions that I get. Let's see if we have some. So, there are some things I'll say about. I'll talk about this later. Yeah. Okay. I got these questions a lot of time. Yeah, tell me.
The question is, some 2 days ago I had working with a MariaDB. I just forgot, as I am newbie, I forgot to write down or to just save the password, and I needed to go inside the MariaDB and through Docker desktop to go and to change the MariaDB password and user. It was the same, but I had to change the password. It's just what I saw that you.
There is. I think there is a better way. Look, if I do docker inspect, which is a really super important command,
okay,
I can inspect every Docker object. Do you remember which of them are? Which are the objects? Which are the Docker objects? The 4 Docker objects. The 4 Apocalypse Docker objects. Huh?
I can see the containers. Those are the objects: container, images, networks, and volumes.
Okay.
These are the.
So basically, I can inspect all of them. So I can do Docker container inspect, for example, this D0. Bam. And here we have a lot of information, maybe too many. But let's see if I can find the environment variable. It's impossible. Config. Here we go. This is the password.
Right. But that is only for that is not only for these Postgres, right? It's for all of them.
No, this is the password that I've defined when I run the Postgres container. Can you see that this env stands for environment, and these are all the environment variables. I've defined some of them, and some are the Postgres ones, like this pg data, language. I've defined just this, and this. Okay.
Okay. So in MariaDB, I could have done
exactly.
Docker inspect
And this and inspect not the image, the inspect of the container.
Okay.
Because the image has not the password. The image is a static file. So you need to Docker container inspect of. Does it make sense?
It makes sense in Postgres.
Okay.
But it wouldn't make sense in MariaDB.
Why?
For my brain. Now that you have shown me, I just have to run. Let's say that I am going to bump in some future days. I'm going to bump in the same situation where I just want to find out the password. I should do the Docker inspect command, right?
Yeah. There are 4 types of inspect. Just let me clarify this. There is Docker container inspect, Docker image inspect, network inspect, and volume inspect. If you do just Docker inspect, it thinks that it's the container. So if you want to do the container, it's just Docker inspect. Otherwise, you need to specify which object is. So image, volume, or network. Docker inspect is for containers. Docker inspect is like Docker container inspect. Okay.
Right. Okay. I understand now.
This is why usually when you get started, it's better to be more verbose, but to say, okay, I'm doing this for a container. But this is the same. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just let me do one thing that I'll show you something very interesting. Docker network, network inspect, network one. Do you remember that before, when I've run the Postgres container, I don't have it anymore, but I've specified a network.
Yes.
And
the
now,
name was.
if I do docker inspect network inspect the name of the network, it says these are all the information of a network, which is not a container. But inside the network, look at this. There are containers. There are all the containers that are connected to this network. Now there is there is just one. But if we had like 2 or 3 containers, if they are not in the same network, they can't communicate. This is a good debug, for example. If you do this, it happened to me. If you don't have the containers on the same network, they can't communicate, of course. If they are on the same network, at least they can talk. Maybe they will not, but at least they can talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of the most important commands. I've done this tweet very, very often. Is the exec command. So, because containers are not something that you can't get into. You can't get into that, but usually people do something like SSH, right? I don't know if you ever used that or not.
Yes, I use that.
Okay,
yes.
so I got this question quite often, like how do I SSH inside a container? You usually don't do that because there is a way more convenient command, which is this: docker. Let's use the verbose version. Docker container exec, which is like docker exec. Then I can type some options. -it, which is like -e and -t. It's like the Linux version. So I want to open like an interactive terminal, okay, to make it very easy.
Okay.
Now we need to define a container. Oh, what's going on? Postgres example. Okay, the autocomplete is not helping me. And then we need to specify a command. This is a command for this specific container. I can override the usual commands for this application. For example, for Postgres, I can do. Can you see? I'm typing here. Just
Yes.
let me clean now. Maybe it's easier. Okay. Postgres pSQL, which is something very specific to Postgres. Then -u, which stands for user. Here I'm not writing Docker stuff. These are commands for Postgres. The name
Yes.
of the user, which was Francesco. Do you remember that? It was me and my ego, Francesco. And this is the name of the DB. So if I do this, check this. No. What I've done? Okay, it was okay, this was a space. Can you see that here is a little bit different now? And now here I am inside the container and I can do like pSQL commands. Like I can find relations or other stuff, for example. Okay?
Wow.
So yeah, if I can manage to do everything, probably not. I can write also select and something like that. So since it's getting a little bit late, I'd like to create an application. So let's go fast. So let's do a node express hello world. I think we need to do a session to look. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that too.
Yeah. There's no problem. If you are available, we will do a session too. So let's create. Now we'll create an image. So how we do that? First of all, we need a folder. These are all the projects that I did in 2021. New folder. Let's say Luc demo. Now if I do this, if I open this with Visual Studio Code, if it doesn't, it's a bit slow. Can you make it? Okay. It was on the other. Okay. Okay. Now, here, let's write a super fast node application. So I can do npm init. This is for initialize an npm application. So now I can install Express, and I think that's enough. Now I can create an index.js file. Have you ever used Node?
Yes, I had to use Node. No, I'm not an expert. I'm just a beginner.
Usually I like Node because this is the fastest example that I can do. So if I do this, and if I do, what is the port? Okay, if I do node index.js, and here we have this basic hello world application. Okay, this is not Docker, this is just Node, and this is a very super basic application. Now, to create an image based on an application, so let's pretend that this is a kind of bigger application. Okay, what can we do? We can create a couple of files. So the first file is a .dockerignore. Let's ignore this for now. Haha, that's super funny. And then let's create something which is called a Docker file. Okay. So what's a Docker file? A Docker file is a text which allows you or me or whatever uses that to build an image. Okay.
Okay.
This is a very crucial moment. Now, there are a lot of it's something like that. So it's like key, which usually is uppercase, and then value. Okay, and these are the comments. So these are usually in this format. Okay. So for example, I can do from. And here I see autocomplete because I have the Docker extension of Visual Studio Code. Okay. So I can choose a node version, let's say node 14. And now we can define some things to build this image. For example, we can expose a port, which could be, for example, always 3000. Then other stuff, we can do a work dir. A work dir is basically to create and get into some folders inside the image. Okay, so let's me do something like that. Now, the problem is, I don't know for people that are, if you know Node.js, but usually when I push this to GitHub, I don't push the node modules. There are also memes about that. So this node modules package is something that I use for me here locally. You never push your node modules inside production, right? So what I could do here is that I could copy instead a file. So the copy command is basically to copy files or folder from source to destination. There is also written this. So I can do package.json and also package -lock.json inside the source, so it should be like that. Okay. Or maybe like this, Okay, so basically I'm copying just these two files. Okay. Now, if I do this, I'll copy these two files. Now, I can run some more advanced concept. But for example, if you want to install some dependencies, install, I don't know, or Vue CLI, for example, I would like to do this. Yes. You can do this run, so like apt-get or something like that. So in this case, I'll do run npm install, okay, which is basically what you should do, okay. And after this, you copy the rest of this folder. So this is, it says that, okay, from this, put that inside the image. Now, the problem is that I don't want these node modules, but I want when I use this locally. So what can I do? I can use the docker ignore, which is like the git ignore, and I can just like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Otherwise, I should delete these, or I could also I've seen people just copying just the folders and files that you need. But with dot dot, it says take everything, but don't get this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now the last important thing is the cmd, which is the command that you want to execute when you will run the container by default. Okay. This is like this. It's basically what I do when I run the node application, but I don't need to specify this. This is the default command that which will be used. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't need to the node.js. For example, maybe I've created, like I called this app.js. It's basically, it's almost like npm start. But if you see npm start from a tutorial, run, because that's not the best solution. Okay.
Okay. So let's say that instead of index.js, I created like edit.js, and I just call that.
Yeah.
On command.
Yeah. Now,
Right.
an interesting part, because now if I've not done some typos here, now we can build an image defined on this Docker file. So the command is docker image build, or just docker build, but I want to be verbose today. Then I can create a name for this image. Let's call this Luc 0 node Luc 001. Okay, and then this one. This is a very important look. I'm basically saying to Docker, please, this is take the Docker file on this path, which is basically where I am now in Luc demo. Okay, in this folder.
Mm-hmm.
This is the name that I want from the image, the tag. If I use GitHub, Git is the same, is the tag. And please build this image on this Docker file. If everything is clear, I can press enter.
Yes.
Let's do that. And now what's going on? It has been kind of fast, but basically, can you see that there are some stages? So every
Right.
of these commands are executed by one. Okay. So now let's do something interesting. I don't want to. Let's go back on the terminal here maybe. If I do docker image ls, can you see? Here is the image that we have created. Okay, so, and for example, I think that sometimes I'm noticed that the image is not inside this folder. It's not here, okay? It's inside this system which uses Docker. So don't expect the image to appear here, okay? The image is on the system, so I need to do Docker images or Docker image ls to see that.
You see, right.
Now, now the
here,
yeah.
Docker image ls within the VS Code terminal,
It's the same.
wouldn't appear.
It's the same. It's the same. It's the VS Code.
Right. Correct.
Okay, it's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
now the funny part. And it's 7 p.m. by the way. Look, do we have 5 more minutes?
Yes. Yes, we have 5 more.
Okay,
minutes.
so
yes.
only this, and then we will continue next time.
Yes.
I've been a little bit slow. Sorry for that. Okay, so if I do
Don't worry.
docker run -b to expose the port 3000 it was, yeah, 3000,
Yeah.
3000, and the name of this one, no, I've been wrong because we needed to specify also the tag 0.0.1. Since it has not find that, it was trying to find that on Docker Hub, but it doesn't find that. So let's try this. And can you see here that I have the same application, but the difference is that I'm running this based on the node image inside the container. Now, let me show you just something and then we are done. I'll propose you. Let's get inside this node container. So if I do docker ps, let's get into this container. So I do docker container exec -it 6f, and now bash. Let's see. Look at that. I am inside this container. I'm no more on my machine. I am inside the container. This is something like SSH, and you see this -src, it was the working dir that I've defined here.
Right.
Now, check something interesting, and then we are done. Here I can navigate. I am inside the container, so I can check stuff. I can go. I can say this is the file system of the container. But the good thing is this: if I do node -- version, this node version is 14.17 because I'm inside the container because I've defined the node 14. But if I exit from the container, and I am on the Francesco machine now, and if I do node -- version, you have the same one, but I could have a different one here. Okay, just let me do this.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah, I've been unlucky, but it will show
awesome.
It will show a different one. Okay, so this is for today. Look, probably I've not checked my node version, but if I had the version 12, because I had version 12, it would have shown the version 12. I thought that I had like the old version.
So it will be when you access from within the Docker image, it will be a different from your system, a different version from your system. Is that correct?
Yeah, because maybe I have on my machine a node 16, but my client wants a node 12, so I can specify. The good thing is that you don't need to worry anymore. Like if you want to run this application, you please use node 12 or 13. It doesn't matter because it will create the image on always of the same type. The last thing, then I'll let you go, is that think about that you need to create different projects. One with node 14 and what with node 11. What will you do? Buy two machines? No. You can use different versions of node on the same machine. And this is the very great thing. There are a lot of other things, of course, but this is the basic. The basic is that you create a consistent environment for your application. This is the dream of the developers. This is what the developers want. They don't want to get mad at. This is what you need to run an application. You can just do this. You don't need to specify anything. And this, of course, this is a dumb application because this is just a hello world. But think about an application with 10 dependencies, which needs to install an important Linux package. I can do everything here. I can run apt-get curl, for example, or something like that. A specific Linux package I can do. And there you will really start to understand why they are so important, why they are so cool. So this is a very basic introduction. Look, I hope that you enjoyed this. Let's go back in the interview style. And what do you think?
I believe that it's so vast and gives you a lot of options to work and to create, like you just said, a great environment where you just with the correct command lines, you get into where you need to do what you need to do.
Exactly.
I mean, it's very specific, and the developer needs to be very specific when it comes to the command lines. And I believe that it needs to be just, I saw you because you have experience with that, and your brain, you have muscle brain, like, you so repeated those commands that you just know them. And but I believe that we can find them on the internet, on Google. We can find the commands and everything that we need.
Yeah.
But it needs, yes, definitely, it needs practice. I am not scared, as I worked with MariaDB, and I pulled and I pushed, and I committed some repos. So it's okay. But this was a great lesson for me to get a little bit further to understanding Docker.
Perfect.
And it's just amazing. I mean, it's amazing. You can do so much stuff. I mean, now definitely sooner or later, I'm not going to need MEM.
Exactly. That's a power. For example, MAMP is a dependency. So you need to install a dependency inside the image, and there you go. So you don't need to worry anymore. The good stuff, and I can say this by experience, that you are sure that this will run in the same exact way on a different environment. So if you do this image, I can run this on my machine, even if I have Windows, even on Raspberry Pi, which is an ARM technology. A good thing when Apple released the Apple Silicon processor, which is an ARM processor, I was excited because of the technology. But the one really great thing about Docker is that it's a multi-architecture project. So you can build image for ARM systems on the x86 machines and different stuff. This is something crazy.
Yes, it's like unlimited.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah, you can. For example, here we have used the node. Sorry, but okay. Here I've used the node image, and here can you see that maybe? Here, for example, should that also the ARM? Should be. Yeah, you have the ARM version for ARM is like the new architecture. Do you know that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so. You can build an image here, and you can run this on a Raspberry Pi, on an Apple M1, which is not that for granted, because it can work even on different architectures.
So that is so amazing for a developer to just build here on whatever architecture you're using, and just that one could be used in another environment with Docker. That's amazing. That's great. This is so powerful.
Yeah, and let me tell you that it's really a developer-friendly solution, because once, maybe a lot of years ago, there was like the sysadmin. There are still sysadmins, of course, but for developer, it was really hard to create virtual machines, to interact with servers. It was like another job. Instead, with Docker, I think Docker really empowers developers. So you can really go on the next level, because the Docker file is where you create your application. So if you create the application, you just need to create an additional text file and build image from that. You don't need to say to another person, please deploy this on the production machine. Do you get the difference?
Yes.
You have this on your machine. Yeah.
Right. That was an amazing time and an amazing lesson. Thank you so much, Francesco, for your time.
Anytime, Luc, for you, my friend, anytime. I'm sorry that I've been a little bit slow, but I think that there is so much stuff to do. I prefer we have neither touched the Docker Compose. Maybe we can do a different another one if you want. When you want, we will do a version 2.
Definitely, we have to.
We will do. When we are ready, we will do another version. But I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'll give you the surprise, the suspense.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you very much.
Perfect, Luc. So thank you also, because I'm trying to write every day. I'm writing an ebook on Docker. So also the more I talk, the more I explain, the more you make me questions, the more the book will be better. Because I think that this has been also useful for me. So yeah, there will be some examples, but thank you also for your feedbacks, because I really needed that. Perfect.
Thank you for your time as well.
Okay, perfect. I think that we're done. Just let me say goodbye to everyone. Sorry, I haven't checked the chat so much, but it should be. I don't have. Just 1 second. And by the way, 1 hour really, it really flew. It looked like 10 minutes. I say, okay, maybe it passed like 15 minutes. It was already 10 to 7 p.m. So that was really strange. Yeah, so let me just write bye-bye, and that's it. Perfect. Okay. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye. Perfect. Okay, look, see you around. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.